It starts like a whisper, barely noticeable at first. She replies a little slower than before, her text shorter, less warm. She suddenly seems busy, canceling or rescheduling plans without much thought. You tell yourself not to overthink it, that maybe she's just having a rough week. But deep down, something feels off. The connection that once flowed easily now feels strained. The change might be subtle, but it's undeniable. And for most men, that shift hits like an earthquake. Beneath their feet, you start to feel unstable. That fear of losing something special creeps in quietly but powerfully. Your instinct is to act, to fix, to hold on tighter before it slips away completely. So you start reaching out more. You check in more often. You try to bring back the spark, remind her how good things used to be. Maybe you ask her if everything's okay. Maybe you try to be more romantic, more available, more present. But here's the harsh truth. You're no longer acting from grounded confidence. You're moving from emotional fear. She feels that. Women are intuitive beyond words. They don't need a dramatic change to notice a shift in energy. Your anxiety, even if subtle, becomes part of the conversation. And when you start seeking reassurance from her, when your peace becomes tied to her responses, you lose the edge that attracted her in the first place. It's not that you're caring too much. It's that your sense of calm, your masculine presence, is starting to crumble. And in relationships, energy is everything. She doesn't pull away to hurt you, but once she senses that shift from stable and sure to reactive and uncertain, something changes in her too. Attraction isn't a choice, it's a response. And when your energy changes, so does hers. Your mind becomes your own enemy you sit with. Your phone in hand, waiting for a reply that takes longer than it should. You scroll through your past messages, looking for clues. Was it the way you said something? Did your tone seem off? Did that one-word reply mean she was annoyed, bored, done? The overthinking begins to consume you. Every little change in her behavior becomes a puzzle you're desperate to solve. And that desperation doesn't stay hidden, it bleeds into your actions. You start texting more frequently, checking her social media, analyzing who she's following, what she's posting, and how she's reacting. Suddenly, your entire emotional balance is hanging on her next move. But the more energy you pour outward into her, the more power you give away. She becomes the center of your attention, and you drift away from yourself. That's when the dynamic shifts. Instead of being the man who was on his path, who had vision, purpose, and direction, you become a man orbiting her world, and that imbalance, though unspoken, is deeply felt. Women are drawn to men who are centered. When she senses that you've abandoned your own focus to decode her every mood, it doesn't feel romantic, it feels insecure. And insecurity, no matter how disguised, repels. You think you're showing effort, care, love, but in her world, it registers as neediness. And nothing collapses attraction faster than a man trying to win her back with forced connection. The irony is brutal. The harder you try to close the gap, the wider it grows. What you should be doing is turning inward. Use that same energy to rebuild your focus, to deepen your purpose, to reconnect with the man you were before the uncertainty took hold, because she was never drawn to the man who chases, she was drawn to the one who leads. You want to act. Every fiber of your being screams to do something, to reach out, to explain yourself, to fix whatever seems broken. You think that if you just say the right words, send the right message, or make the right gesture, she'll feel the same way again. But that impulse, as natural as it feels, is often exactly what drives her further away. Attraction isn't logical. You can't convince someone to feel what they no longer feel. In fact, the more you try to fix the emotional distance, the more pressure she experiences. And pressure in a romantic connection doesn't bring people closer, pushes them apart. What you need to do in that moment is the opposite of what your emotions urge. You need to let the silence exist. Let her pull back without resistance. Let the space grow, and don't try to close it. This isn't about playing games. It's about protecting your center. When you resist the urge to chase, when you choose stillness over reaction, you send a message far louder than words ever could. I am okay with or without your validation. That kind of presence, calm and unmoved, speaks to something deep in her biology. Women don't return to men who convince them. They return to men who never lost themselves trying. Silence creates contrast, creates the space for her to reflect, to miss your energy, to feel the shift in her own actions. If you flood that silence with desperate attempts, you rob her of the experience of choosing you again. But when you stay grounded, when you allow her absence to speak louder than your presence ever begged to, you reclaim your power. And whether she returns or not, you've already won because you've stayed true to yourself. The emotional sting is sharp. She posts a story with another guy, casually mentions someone new, or suddenly becomes more active on social media while growing distant from you. Your gut twists. Jealousy bubbles up, and you want answers. The need to react is overwhelming, maybe. You want to ask her what's going on, call her out, or post something to get a reaction back. But all of that is emotional reactivity. And when you react to her every move, you send a clear message. You're not grounded. You're letting her actions dictate your emotions. That loss of control is where your power begins to slip. A masculine man doesn't respond to chaos with chaos. He responds with composure. Emotional restraint isn't weakness, it's power. When you can feel the jealousy, acknowledge the hurt, but still remain calm and unmoved, you show real strength. In those moments, she's watching more closely than you think. She wants to see how you handle pressure. If you spiral, lash out, or try to manipulate her into caring again, she feels the shift. You're no longer the confident, grounded man she was drawn to her, reacting like a boy fighting for emotional certainty. Your silence in those moments speaks volumes. It tells her you don't need to compete. You don't chase. You observe. You choose. And if something genuinely crosses your boundaries, you address it from clarity, not from a storm of emotion. It's what earns respect. That's what reminds her that you're different. In a world full of men who fold when triggered, the man who stays composed stands out. You don't need to say anything. Your emotional discipline already says it all. I don't chase chaos. Stay rooted in peace. And that's exactly the energy she remembers long after the noise fades. When a woman starts to pull away, many men instinctively begin to lower their standards, often without realizing it. You cancel plans just because she texts last minute. You ignore how distant she's become and accept breadcrumbs of attention just to keep her interested. You tell yourself you're being patient, being understanding, but beneath that is a silent message you're sending. My self-respect is negotiable. Every time you respond immediately after being ignored, every time you tolerate coldness or emotional inconsistency without addressing it, you teach her how to treat you. And more importantly, you start to chip away at your own sense of worth. Doesn't mean you should be harsh, rigid, or play games. It means you must hold your frame. The moment you begin to bend your standards just to keep her, you lose the polarity that makes attraction thrive. She may not consciously register it, but deep down, she begins to feel it. This man needs me more than he values himself. And that imbalance kills desire. Women don't crave control over a man, they crave a man who has control over himself. One who makes her feel fortunate to be part of his world, not one who sacrifices his world to be part of hers. When she pulls away, that's the moment your standards matter the most. If she's inconsistent, you don't chase. If she cancels, you don't immediately reschedule. You mirror the energy and protect your peace not out of ego, but out of dignity. You show her, and more importantly, you show yourself that your love is valuable, not desperate. And if she returns, it's because she feels your strength, not because you begged for it. If she doesn't, then you've already won. Because the man who never abandons himself is the one no one forgets.